So, Yovita, what do you want to get for your party tonight?
I don't know, just basics, you know.
Like wine?
Yeah.
Ooh, let's get this.
Why?
It's 50% off. Save you some money. Who doesn't love Asian noodles?
That's stupid.
It's not stupid.
It's
a big
impulse
promotion.
buying.
What's impulse buying?
These are the worst, right? I'm gonna buy them. It's good, I'll take it. Boom, I'll take them. Impulse buy.
Impulse buying is defined as an individual feels sudden, often powerful and persistent desire to make an unintended, unreflected, and immediate purchase after being exposed to certain
Hi, my
stimuli.
name is Regina Phalange, and I'm here today with one of my colleagues.
Rufus Stutton.
And we have been conducting research over the past few months about what causes impulse buying. And our research is focused really on the customer's point of view. Why do they think that they're impulse buying?
Yeah. And through the period of our research, we've also conducted some surveys. We got a lot of good feedback from people. And based on our research, we discovered there are 5 primary reasons as to why consumers make impulse purchases.
Oh, hello. My name is Lauren Green. I am a AUP Magic student.
Do you consider yourself a FOMO shopper? I see that you're laughing. Why do you think that is?
I mean, if I could explain that more, if I could flesh that out, it's Paris and wine costs like €3. So I'm constantly stocking up on wine.
And do you ever buy things that you don't need?
Yeah, I do, because I'm afraid that if I don't buy it, then I'm gonna regret it, especially when it comes to clothes and things like that.
Okay, hi, my name is Zhong Hui. I'm from China. I'm an exchange student at AUP.
What is the first thing you notice when you see a product?
When I first notice something, I'll see its appearance first.
Basically, if it looks relatively fresh and of high quality, that's good for on those factors, the quality, and if it's something that looks good in the moment.
Okay.
It depends. I think with like clothing and things, probably design. When it comes to like produce, probably shape, color, quality. If it's other things, maybe price would be a factor, but probably design.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lauren, when you look at a product, what is the first thing that you notice?
The label. I'm one of the customers that will definitely choose the product with the prettiest label, I'm not gonna lie. And then second would probably be price.
Okay. And when you see a product, what's the first thing you notice about it?
The price.
Okay.
The price, and I look at the price per kilo, and I compare it to other things as usual.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Do you have a monthly budget?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have a monthly budget. Definitely.
How often do you go over it?
Every month.
Do you ever buy things that you don't need?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I have a spending problem. I literally spend so much money. I go over my monthly budget every month.
Do you ever buy things that you don't need?
Every day.
What do you buy? Like, why do you buy them?
Because I have a slight addiction to makeup. That's usually what I do. Everything that I buy that I don't really need is makeup related.
Do you ever buy things that you don't need?
I think I always.
Why? And what do you buy?
Like cosmetics. I can't just control myself.
Okay, and do you ever buy things that you don't need?
Definitely.
Why?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends, but usually you buy things that you don't need because it makes you happy, I guess.
Basically, I think most of the stuff that I buy, I'll impulse buy, or the stuff that I end up really loving, because, for example, if I'm looking for a particular article of clothing, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out and buy this particular article, and I'll look, and it'll take a long time, and I'll buy something I don't like, because I need that particular thing in the moment. But generally it's the impulse stuff that I end up cherishing the most, because when you see something and you really like it and it's unique, then you can appreciate it. It sort of happened. You found it. And it's something that really matches my taste, or something that I really like. Whereas if it's a planned purchase, it just takes longer, and you don't necessarily find what you want when you're looking for it. And I mean, that's life. That's life.
So those were our 5 factors as to why people think that they impulse buy. And for me, the most interesting was number 5, which is feelings. The fact that people have an emotional attachment to a material good. And before the 1920s, this wasn't really a thing. People bought based off necessity, and it wasn't until Edward Bernays came along and reinvented the industry did people start to buy based off of want. And I'm going to give you guys an example to show how he did this. He took, say, cigarettes. One of his clients was a cigarette company, and cigarette companies wanted to start selling to women, because at the time women couldn't smoke in public. And what they did is, at this big parade in New York, Edward Bernays convinced these women to go out into the parade and light up a cigarette. And he had this whole headline ready called Torches of Freedom to be put in the newspaper the next day. So what he did is he attached cigarettes to the women's suffrage movement, the women's rights movement. And that way, cigarettes, when you smoked, it wasn't just because you wanted a cigarette, it was because you were showing that you were independent. So he took a material and made it bigger, made it political, made it emotional.
Very interesting point, Regina. And actually, our research took us much more in depth in impulse purchasing. So we did start with reasons, but then that research led us into much more of the psychological component to impulse buying. We started out with some stimuli, and neuromarketer Patrick Vernois perfectly articulates this in his TED Talk.
I happen to be an expert in applied neuromarketing. So what do we do in applied neuromarketing? We look at how neuroscientists tell us about how certain stimulus provide a certain response. And can you guess what response we are trying to get from consumers? Yes, we want them to say yes or buy, right? All right, so let me give you an executive summary of what we know about the brain. What we know about the brain is that you don't have a single self. You have 3 selves. First, you have your neocortex, or your new brain, and that's the rational self. Now, if I take my model here, this is the neocortex. It's the outside, the wrinkly, pinky part of the brain. But then deeper inside, you have another self, which is your emotional self, which tends to be located here in what's called the middle brain. But deep down, further below in the brain, is your reptilian brain, and that's your instinctual self. And here is what neuroscientists have discovered over the years, is that our instinctual self has a greater impact on our final decision than the rational us or even the emotional us. Well, there are only 6 stimuli to the reptilian brain, so let's review them one by one. The reptilian brain is self-centered. It's all about me, me, me. How do advertisers use this against us? Well, guess what? Look at this advertising. What did they do? To get to your reptilian brain, they shot that picture from the viewpoint of the rider of that bicycle. So in essence, when you see this ad, it's you riding this bike. What else do? They use the word you when they communicate to you. So for example, obey your thirst. I want you. Second stimulus is contrast. Contrast as in before, after, warm, cold, night, day.
Packaging with highly contrasting colors are visually stimulating to the reptilian brain of the consumers. This subliminally encourages them to buy these products whether they need them or not.
The next stimulus is tangible. What that means is the reptilian brain barely understands words, so it has to have very tangible concepts to understand it. How do they use this? Reserved for drunk drivers. See how they made it tangible? Right? How about this one? Mr. Clean. Get it? They made their value proposition tangible. The next stimulus is beginning and end. What that means is the reptilian brain is awake at the beginning of an interaction, at the end, and it forgets pretty much everything in between. And the next stimulus is visual. In fact, if I take my model of the brain here, you would see that the optic nerves plug directly into the reptilian brain, and the optic nerve happens to be 50 times faster than the auditory nerve, the nerve from the ear to the brain. So let's see how they use this in advertising. An ad to help you stop smoking. In several countries now around the world, you have to have those pictures on the packs of cigarettes. Right? So, now you're going to tell me, great, Does this apply to other areas of life?
So I love how Patrick ends the talk with that question. Does this apply to other areas of life?
Yeah.
Because through our research, I think this directly applies to impulse buying. Because at the beginning, we had consumers who believed that they made purchases based on these 5 basic factors. But if you look, you can see those 6 stimuli that Patrick had mentioned. And marketeers have been able to utilize this information of neuromarketing in order to develop products, advertisements, and store layouts which can relate to the consumer's reptilian or instinctual part of the brain to ensure that they purchase these materials.
Yeah, and the maximum amount of materials because they want them to buy these materials impulsively.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a good example of that was through our factors, people said, oh, design plays a big part. Well, how does design play that part?
Exactly.
If you looked at the top, they had included the stimuli of it's visually appealing, but then also marketeers make it centered around you. It's the you factor. So in their packaging, they could have packaging that directly talks about how this is relevant for your life and how you need this product in order to live a better life. And then they said, oh, yes, again, they said design, but then also there's the stimuli of contrast and how marketeers have been able to do different types of coloring in order to have a good contrast of their product packaging.
It really shows how consumers really only understand impulse buying at the surface level. There's so much more cognitive information that goes through a purchase, and marketers have really been able to take advantage of this. Not only do marketers use the stimuli to appeal to the reptilian part of the brain, they also use stimuli in order to appeal to the emotional self of the customer. And how they do that is through the senses. And so when you walk into a store, the first thing that marketers want you to realize is music and scent, because those are the strongest senses that they can appeal to. And if these two senses match each other, then it kind of optimizes the consumer's purchasing or impulse purchasing mindset. And so they will normally spend more if they think that the music and scent match each other. And so music and scent do is they create the overall atmosphere in the store. And what stores want to do is they want to stimulate the customer sense of pleasure, because when they're happy, they're going to spend more even if they didn't originally intend on it.
Very interesting point. Our research has taken us through the consumer's point of view, the psychological point of view, and the business's point of view. From the information we've shared here, this may allow consumers to become more self-aware. Through the self-awareness, this will allow consumers to better recognize the external factors that cause them to make these impulse purchases.
And from the manager's point of view or the business point of view, they know that they need to create a store environment that is going to stimulate the customer's pleasure sense. Because when customers are happy, they're going to spend more whether they intended to or not.
See, you don't need this.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I just wanted it because it was on sale.
Yeah.
So, thanks for letting me know.
Cool.
Wait, 1 second. We could get this though.
No hope.